Welcome to GCCars, my name is Eric, and thanks to your support, we get another new brand on the channel. Welcome, Volvo. Volvo asked me, hey, what kind of car would you like to review? And we got another one scheduled, but I'm not going to tell you that one yet. And I thought, you know what? I kind of want to see, the best Volvo can do, and the XC90 just got a refresh for the 2021 model year, so why don't we take that one? And the one Volvo gave me, top of the line, that's the Recharge, so it's a plug-in hybrid T8 with a turbocharged and supercharged engine. Yes, you heard that correctly, plus the hybrid, right? And then it's got pretty much every option. So just aspect, roughly $100,000 Canadian. Quite a lot of money. We're gonna see and find out if it's worth it. We recently had the GLE 350, of course that's the base model, but it's also a midsize SUV, and that one was retailing for close to $83,000, I think, or like 80,000. So we might be able to compare them here and there a little bit. But as always, we're starting off with the exterior, then we're looking at the interior, then we're driving it, and then we're going to take a final look at it and sum it up. Anyhow, I think we start off with the exterior. Like I said, this one got refreshed, and it was a very, very subtle refresh. But really the most important, and I think the design point I like the most, is the new grille. Because normally grills are kind of like, it's kind of like a curve going outwards. This one starts off like that, but then it has a kink in it, and it kind of inverts. And that looks really good. I think it gives it a lot of depth to the grille. Love that. Of course, we got quite a bit of chrome use, but it looks elegant in total, I think. And the color, by the way, is Burge Light. Volvo always likes these silver, creamy, whitish colors. It just looks more elegant and fits to the Nordic design they always go for. I think it looks good in front. Of course, Nordic. These headlights are called Thor's hammer, which that's pretty badass. Yeah, that's a cool name for your headlights. Can't complain about that. Really, moving on to the side, these are the optional 21-inch wheels. I think they look very good, but if you spec the bigger wheels, you normally sacrifice ride quality a little bit. I'm going to talk about that. Towards the side profile, I think that looks pretty good. It's very well. It's an SUV. I think this is the only part, like this rear quarter, which I'm not entirely fond of. I don't know. It just looks a little outdated to me. That's something they really weren't able to update much. So this kind of, I don't know, this age, and I'm a fan of boxy SUVs. You know me, so I'm like, I don't know. Overall though, this is an SUV for people who don't want to have an Escalade or a Tahoe. This is kind of like a Swedish Escalade, right? A little small though. It looks very nice. It looks very elegant. Let's take a brief look at the rear, and then we can look at the interior. And honestly, I like the rear. I think it looks pretty good. The taillights really emphasize the body lines. Looks good. Then we get the XC90 badge. Like, the chrome is very tastefully used on this vehicle. Of course, on the right we have our T8 all-wheel drive Recharge badge. To the all-wheel drive we also get, because there's some interesting quirks to that. And I really like how this chrome strip at the bottom kind of like splits the tailgate from the rear bumper. Overall, I think it looks very elegant. I like it honestly, but let's take a look at the interior. Okay, getting into the XC90. And first of all, I want to quickly mention, we get the wool and textile blend interior here. This is the Midnight Zinc wool, and it's pretty cool to have wool in a car. I mean, leather is nice, but how many can say you have wool in the car? Anyhow, we get to those seats in a bit. Let's go forward to my position, because we got memory seats, right? So first of all, seating position is really good. It's finally truck-like for me in here. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm driving like this when I'm driving a pickup. But the thing is, I've had a Miata the last week, so probably everything that isn't a Miata feels like a truck right now. But the materials, it's just so nice in here. It's such a nice cabin. When you get into it, at first a little understated. It doesn't look as fancy, but if you look at the details and at the materials, it is just wonderful. Like, first of all, nice soft leather, metal, wood, metal again, wool textile mix, followed by more really soft leather. This is such a, like, this door, I love this door so much. It is so beautiful. There's so much detail, and then there's so many good materials, and it's just very, very, very good. The wool interiors you can have in light gray and dark gray. So if you option those, you cannot get massaging seats, which are optional on the leather seats, just so you know. These ones are still heated, not cooled, just heated, but they are immensely comfortable. They're a little stiffer, but I like this. They're actually amazing for my posture. Most car seats, I don't know, I find like, are good, but if you sit on them for a while, they can lack a little bit of support. These are amazing. I mean, you can adjust them in like a billion ways, but they're just so comfortable. And I always get out of this car and my back is just like perfect. Then let's move on. Steering wheel, not much to say. It looks nice, feels nice. Our digital gauge, because we have a screen, we don't have analog gauges. There's a lot of information on that because with the hybrid you have like your fuel gauge, you have your hybrid gauge, you have your some battery level, you have how far you can go on battery, how far you can go on gas, what's your fuel mileage, all the stuff in there. But once you grasp it, it's actually really easy to understand and always very nice and very nice to visualize. It's a very unassuming screen, I'll be honest. It is if like I could have driven this for probably a day, and if you asked me 2 weeks later if it had a digital screen, I would be like, I don't know, because it's just not flashy. It works. Just like understated elegance. That's what this Volvo is, and this is just in line with that. It works very well, a lot of information. The start animation is a little laggy, just like with our screen here, which is Android based. The infotainment, very fast, very clear, a lot of buttons and stuff here. But once you figure out and know where what is, you can be really easily can easily go through it, can easily use it. Just same here, because our infotainment and our HVAC stuff is in our climate controls are in the infotainment. Works well most of the time, but when you start it up for like maybe 20 seconds, it's all pretty laggy. So if I get into the car and it saves my heated seats and I'm like, oh no, it warmed up, I don't want to use them, I have to be like this and then click it like a billion times until it finally reacts. That's a little annoying. Other than that, great infotainment, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, wired, not wireless. Speaking of phones, if we open this up, first of all, Mercedes. Remember when I said in the GLE it would have been nice if it would have been spring-loaded? This is spring-loaded. No. We have a wireless phone charger here, which is in the perfect position. It is so comfortable there, and it's the perfect position to see it and use it, which is bad. Stop doing it so well. Phones aren't supposed to be in a good spot, okay? Like, this is amazing to use and be like, you have to have a lot of restraint. If you're charging your phone, you know, it's just a bit of a boring drive. Let me just quickly answer this message here. No, don't. Volvo, this is an amazing spot. It's way too good. Don't do that, please. It looks nicely too. It's just, I'm a big advocate of putting phone chargers somewhere where I can't access them easily or where I have to open some for, because I want to disencourage texting and driving. We got our Urfoss, I have no idea how to pronounce that, crystal shifter, which is really nice and looks awesome, and in certain lights it kind of like splits the light into like the red, green and blue and all that. That's pretty cool. Driver wants to like all that. Bit of gloss black here. Doesn't need to be there, but it's not really a high touch area, so it's fine. Lastly, what have I not talked about? More of a center console, bit of storage in there, not too big. Oh yeah, one big thing. Where are my USB ports, guys? So I have 2 USB ports in my center console, but I have none up here, which wouldn't be too big of an issue if we'd at least have like a little gap in the center console so I can lead a cable out of that. I don't. There's no way for me to have any device somewhere here and charge it, not wireless, or have it plugged in Android Auto-wise, and like have it up here. It's impossible, because there's no way to lead a cable to that unless I drive with it open. But come on, like, this is comfortable, right? A little bit of an oversight there, a little bit of an oversight. So if we have any USB ports here, that'd be cool. But I think we should take a look at the second row. Okay, now in the second row, and first of all, there's plenty of room. Like, behind myself, I have so much room, and we have a great view of our panoramic sunroof we have in here. Materials wise, we pretty much get the same really, really nice mix of materials with our leather, wood, metal, and the wool. We also have integrated sunshades, which I do not need today because it is about to rain very soon, but it is nice nonetheless. And the seats are also very comfortable. Of course, we can, this button, this lever here, can recline and make it even more comfortable. No, this is very comfy. This is very comfy. Cool little additional thing we have in here, $250 option. That is an integrated booster seat in the second seat. So I'm just gonna do this, put it up, put it down. there you go, booster seat, integrated, very nice, so you don't have to carry anything around. Very cool. So if you have like a small child, this is great. This is useful. Whoop, come on. There we go. Of course, some more cup holders in here, and a nice little armrest. There we go. And what I really like here as well is we have a screen for our climate controls, which is great because you don't really use it often here, and it just declutters the interior nicely here in the back. Additionally, 2 USB-C outlets down at the bottom. No, it's a very nice and very pleasant to be in a second row. But let's take a look at the third row, and then we get driving. So to get into the third row, pull this lever. There we go. And now we can climb in. There we go. There we go. It's not the biggest third row. 5'7" for reference. That's my size. Okay, I'm just gonna switch your camera view. There we go. I'm just gonna slide over. This one doesn't budge. You cannot move this one around. Okay, back here, third row. Very comfy in terms of seating, but not made for adults. Like, I could ride in here for 12 minutes. I don't know, 15 feels like too much. 12 minutes, because I am basically, I don't have anywhere for my feet to go, so I can either spread really wide or I have to move everything over to the right. The seating position in terms of knees over the hips isn't too bad. It's worse than some other cars, so this is actually pretty decent. It's just there's no room for my legs and for my feet. But if you're in here and you're a little smaller, you maybe for your children, you got a cup holder in here, and you have a little cubby that you can store stuff in, which is nice. And other than that, let's look at the trunk, and we're going driving. Good aftermiddag, or something like that. I botched that probably. That was supposed to be Swedish for good afternoon, because we always speak a foreign language in the trunk here. Yeah, behind the third row, I really don't have that much, not that much storage. It's 11.2 cubic feet behind the third row. Oh, let me get out and lower the car for better access, air suspension and stuff. Right, there we go. And now I can fold these down, and we get 34.1 cubic feet, which is a lot nicer. And if you were to fold down the second row, you get 64.2 cubic feet of space. Plenty of storage in here. And we even got grocery bag hangers on both sides. Look at you, Volvo. That's awesome. Thank you. I still say way too few auto manufacturers do that. Thank you, Volvo, for doing that. Anyhow, plenty of space in here. Let's go driving. Okay, now on the road in the Volvo XC90 Recharge, and as always, we're going to start off with the launch. But just so you know, we're in hybrid mode right now, and we are fully electric. It's not using the internal combustion engine, but we can obviously change that with our drive modes. We'll get to that in depth in a second here, but let's set up for the launch. Okay, so for the launch, first of all, we want to go into Polestar engineered mode. That lowers the XC90, as well as turns on the internal combustion engine, so they work together. Then we're going to go into ESC Sport mode, which turns off traction control. Now that we're ready, we're going to stop her and accelerate and see how well she does. $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70. Yeah, she's pretty quick. I love the wheel spin after the first shift in second gear. That's pretty cool. Nice wheel spin there. And yeah, current driver got it to 60 miles an hour, so 100 kilometers an hour roughly, in 4.9 seconds, which is decently quick, especially for a mid-size SUV, and one that doesn't have any sporty aspirations, right? It's not meant to be sporty, but hybrid plus this engine just gives you a lot of power. And if we're still in Polestar mode, so it's in a gear low, but if we just hit it, takes a second to pull up, and there we go. But it doesn't feel as fast. I mean, you can see everything fly by, but it's just so isolated in the cabin that you don't really feel like you're going super fast. But I want to talk about this engine real quick, and there's way too many numbers involved for me to do it here without notes, so let's send it off to the details. Schönen Sonntag wünsche ich Ihnen. Now, today we will take a look at the details and more precisely the drivetrain of this 2021 Volvo XC90 Recharge. Let's get started. First of all, we should open the hood. Now, you might be asking, why is there so much room in the frame? Why is there so much space to watch the sky? Well, the hood on the XC90 opens unreasonably far. Very tall. Anyhow, now under the hood of the XC90 is a 2-liter turbocharged as well as supercharged engine. Yes, both. And it boasts 313 horsepower and is combined with an 8-speed automatic to drive the front wheels. Now you might be asking, wait a second, isn't the XC90 all-wheel drive? And you are correct, because we also have an electric motor producing 87 horsepower, made it to an 11.6 kilowatt-hour battery driving the rear wheels. Now there is no physical connection between the front and the rear wheels, but it's still all-wheel drive when they work together. But depending on the drive mode, you can either have a front-wheel drive car, you can have a rear-wheel drive car, or you can have an all-wheel drive car. Very, very interesting. Now, combined, this car puts out 400 horsepower and 472 pound-feet of torque. Just very quickly before we go back to driving, in terms of charging, you can charge this car with either the level 2 plug on the side, that takes roughly 3 to 4 hours, good at home, or you can use it while driving and you can use the engine to charge it. You can use regenerative braking or a mix of the two. Total, with a full battery, you will have 18 miles or 29 kilometers of range. Now, let's go back to driving. Yeah, it's a pretty complicated engine, as you can tell. Like, I think Volvo is the only one that supercharges and turbocharges an engine on a production car, plus puts a hybrid system in there. But like in this hybrid mode or in the Polestar engineered mode, it is really nice. But let's try that in the different modes. So let's go into pure mode, actually. Let's go into full EV mode. And it gets quiet in here. Now we got our full 87 horsepower rear-wheel drive electric motor. Just got a little train tracks here, and then we can floor it afterwards, but not too much, otherwise our combustion engine comes in again. Go 40, 50, 60, keeping it so we stay at 70. It is pretty fun though. It is pretty fun. No, this drivetrain, honestly, I mean, super complicated. Let's go back to hybrid. Super complicated, but it is very nice for the most part. First of all, when you drive when it's in electric mode, which is most of the time when you're in hybrid, it chooses electric. It is just so quiet. It is very nice. Like, it's been a while since I drove an EV. I've never driven actually a plug-in hybrid. This is the first one I drove, but I've drove like a bunch of full electric vehicles, right? And it's just so nice, especially if you're in like a neighborhood with a lot of stop signs everywhere, and you just quietly and pretty much silently cruising along, no vibrations. It is very, very nice. And then for like highway driving or whenever you run out of battery, you have the engine, the combustion engine, right? But the combustion engine, I have a bit of an issue with it. I mean, it is over 300 horsepower out of a 2-liter 9.4. It's pretty good, but it is pretty rough, the engine. First of all, it is noisy. It doesn't sound nice. Let me go into, let's put into charge. This is just the engine right now, and I want to come to a stop because mostly in like lower speeds it is a little noticeable. First of all, it's kind of shaky, like there's a lot of vibrations with it. In charge mode, wait, revs a little higher, right? So you hear and you feel vibrations through the door because it charges the battery right now. Then we go, and it's very coarse sound. It's like a grrr. I know I'm great at imitating sounds, but you know, there's just kind of like this coarse sound to it. So that's not super nice. It's not that big of an issue. It's just something to note. And when you drive when you drive in non-EV and non-hybrid mode, you will notice that occasionally it just doesn't sound like it doesn't sound that luxurious or that pleasant. But like I said, most people who buy this have a house or a reliable way to charge it, so you will barely ever be driving with a combustion engine. And as soon as we disable charge, we're back into hybrid mode and we're back into electric, because everything under 50 kilometers an hour, really, just stay in electric mode and you'll be able to enjoy the ride. Speaking of ride, very pleasant. Wow, this is so soft. This is so nice to drive in. Like, all the bumps get absorbed really well. This is a disgustingly bad road. And there's some vibrations, but mostly they come from my camera arm that's mounted on there. But no, it is very pleasant to drive over this. Not at any point did I drive over something and felt like, oh yeah, that was uncomfortable. No, this is a really, really good suspension. We obviously get the optional air ride suspension, which helps with that, and it's so worth it. First of all, it can lower and raise itself if you load stuff, or for the different modes, off-road being higher, right? Then you have EV mode being a little lower, Polestar being lower than the normal hybrid mode, so you can do that, and it's just so comfortable. Very nice suspension, and that carries on if we talk about how quiet it is. It is so quiet in here. Like, we got some road noise right now because the road, like I said, isn't perfect, but we're in hybrid mode. Let's simulate me driving through a neighborhood at 30 kilometers an hour. And I can literally whisper, even in the city, and it is so nice. But we can float. No, it is really, really nice. It is really nice and quiet. It's a very serene driving experience. You feel very well isolated, while the cabin, like I said, is very nice and spacious. It is a very pleasant driving experience. The steering weight is really good too. It's very effortless. It's not too easy, but it's definitely on the easier side, and it's very nice to drive. It's just a very relaxing car to drive, especially, like I said, when you're in electric mode, full EV mode, and pure. It is just so comfortable. It is so relaxing, and then you get the Bowers and Wilkins, which just is amazing. Very enjoyable. Very, very, very enjoyable to drive this, and it's a very good combination. But before we send it off to the final thoughts, I quickly want to go over to the I'm gonna put it to Polestar Engineer once more. There you go. So now we're all-wheel drive, right? Because we got front-wheel drive on the combustion engine, rear-wheel drive on the motor. It's so complicated. I kind of love it, but I'm also a little afraid to own one of these. I don't know, like. Not to say anything against that, but we might want to consider leasing it, especially if you get the air ride and all that. I don't know. And floored. Pretty controlled. It also handles pretty well, by the way. Taking the highway on-ramp, I'm always taking. Handles pretty well. Very approachable to the limit, not just, it doesn't fall off the cliff. Very nice handling. Okay, let's go clean and serene. Hybrid, please. Thank you. But yeah, I wanted to talk about tech real quick before we end this. And the tech itself also really, really good. So first of all, of course, we get the whole selection of assists, and like we got plenty of cameras which are high resolution, which is really nice. And then we have automatic braking assist, blind spots. Of course, all the things you want to have in a car like this, right? Then we have adaptive cruise control, and on top of that, we have pilot assist. We're going to do a highway POV drive where we're testing this highway pilot assist. It also works here, but this is a straight road, so it wouldn't really do much. Essentially, the car steers for you. It's not an autonomous driving system. You have to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times, but it is very good. It functions very, very well. Probably better than a little better than the Hyundai Kia system, I think, a little better. Very good. Distronic might still have it beat up by that, but the Distronic system can also shift lanes, although the Genesis was really good. Anyhow, this is a really good system. This is a really good system. Maybe I'll make a separate comparison video at some point where we test all the different driving assist features. But this is very, very good. Like on the highway, adaptive cruise control on, pilot assist on, it drives itself. You still have to be in control and keep your hands on the steering wheel, legal disclaimer, but you won't have to interfere really. It's very good. It's very good. And while we're talking about safety, the visibility in this XC90 is phenomenal. First of all, everything is nice and big. Our mirrors are nice and big. Our rear window, which is often these days just too small, very nice, big, and tall. So I really have no issues whatsoever seeing through everything. There's a lot of glass around me, and it's just not only, like I said, feels spacious in the interior, but it also just makes it very pleasant and comforting to drive because you feel in control. You feel like you know what's going on around you. Very nice. And that's really where the safety aspect from Volvo, right? They always value safety, and we can't thank Volvo for these boys here who saved so many lives. Anyhow, I think we talked a lot about driving, and I talked about everything I wanted to mention. Why don't we sum it all up in the final thoughts? Okay, final thoughts on the 2021 Volvo XC90 Recharge. And after spending not quite a week, Monday was Thanksgiving, so I couldn't have it then, 6 days with the XC90. Man, I like this one. I like this one. This is really, really nice. Like I said, the looks is pretty good. Not my favorite, but pretty good. The interior though, the interior is amazing. Not only the interior choices, the material choices they made, but also the interior quality is just really, really good. It drives very nicely. It is super soft with the optional air ride, the air suspension. We got an amazing ride quality, and you can see it, or you saw it lowering itself from off-road to Polestar engineered mode. No, it is very, very nice. What are my complaints? Just to quickly recap. No accessible USB port for the front passengers, which is a weird oversight in terms of interior design. Not a game breaker though. The engine is pretty rough and pretty coarse sounding at lower speeds and at city streets, and there's a bit of vibrations coming from it. But as long as you're somebody who can charge reliably at home or at work, which probably most of you, if you buy this XC90 Recharge, are, then that won't be an issue. And lastly, the third row isn't that big. So if you plan on using a third row a lot, not only for children, maybe for like adults, this might not be it. But as long as you only occasionally use this third row, by all means, this XC90 Recharge is fantastic. Now, is it worth $101,865 Canadian though, after delivery? That's a good chunk of money, especially for a mid-size SUV. And like I said, we've had the GLE, and that was $79,000 flat. That was a base GLE 350, so we had the base engine with some options tagged on. But this is almost $23,000 more. That's a lot of money. The XC90 looks better, the XC90 rides better, the XC90 drives better, and the XC90 had the nice interior than that GLE 350. But $23,000 is still a lot of money. And I think it's okay though. It's definitely not a bargain. This is not a bargain. And the value is somewhere between acceptable and expensive for me. But if you charge it and drive it in electric mode often, you will probably make a good chunk of that money back over time if you drive a lot in city streets, for example. But yeah, one more thing. Volvo, thank you so much for making your options reasonably priced. Like, that is actually fantastic. The booster seat was $250. The wool textile interior is like $350. This package that gives us the heated seats and the heated steering wheel and something else I forgot is like $1,000. That's just super reasonable, except like for luxury cars, normally each of these options would have been $1,000 each, with the climate package probably being like $3,000. Then the most expensive options were the air suspension for just over $2,000, and then the Bowers & Wilkins for $3,750, which I think both are totally worth it. So thank you, Volvo, for being reasonable in terms of your options. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, because we upload new reviews at every Friday, 11 a.m. or so I try. Sometimes they're a little late. I'm very busy right now. But the important thing is new reviews every single week. Additionally, we got POV drives where we drive, for example, this XC90. We drive them on the highway, we drive them at night, we drive them in the city, trying different things from handling tests to LED light tests to like driving it in EV mode. All of that from my perspective, so you can see how it is to see and drive it out of the first person. You can see and hear that. Anyhow, Volvo is returning very soon with another entry, so if you like Volvos, stay tuned for that. And in about 2 weeks, we got another really cool SUV coming that kind of competes with this. Not entirely, but it'll still make for an interesting comparison. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I had a ton of fun making this. I hope you had a ton of fun watching this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.